up at Madison Square Garden. Jaylen Brown, he went off last night. How has JVT updated his Eastern Conference Finals MVP power ratings? We got a lot to get to. But first and foremost, hey, what's up, man? How are you?
Nothing. I'm feeling good, man.
I'm feeling good, too. I'm fired up.
You know, it's Friday, obviously, so we're heading into the weekend. It is Memorial Day weekend. It is getting to officially the kickoff of summer, and you can feel the summer vibes around here at Circa. There's a lot of people here, a lot of folks checking in to get ready for the long weekend. The weather's great. I'm fired up. I feel like throwing a couple of back. Maybe between commercial breaks, I'll go take some shots at the bar outside and really get loosened up for this show because I'm ready for the weekend to start. Ready for summer to start.
Yeah, well, maybe we can get Tony. Come on in, bartender extraordinaire. Give us a couple spirits. Get ready for the weekend.
We are not Derek Stevens, though, so I don't know if he'll do that.
That is true. That is not.
We're also rocking a new look, so let's see what do you think?
You went to, so, in a little inside baseball here, for the past couple of nights, can we get an ISO on JVT? Just an ISO? He's been asking, should I go top button? And today he's doing it. So, we can take some bets out there. Will he stay top button all 3 hours?
The problem is, I feel like actually, maybe it's a motivational thing, too. I feel like I have to sit up straight, super straight the whole time. Because then, if I don't, then I get kind of jowly. My face is full. So if I really start to get lazy, then all of a sudden it's going to start. You know what I mean? I got to look professional.
You look good. I wore a T-shirt today. So
you criticized my looks the other day, so I'm trying to look as good as you.
I did not. I never do that. He takes a lot of jabs, but I'm here. I'm the bigger man. Technically, I am taller, and I'm ready to go. I'm not going to let anyone deter this lovely weekend. Do the Minnesota Timberwolves even this up? The market has continued to bet the Timberwolves, and once again, like we're seeing...
Yeah, I'm not doing this.
That was the easiest cash ever.
Yeah,
under 3 hours. That was a terrible line. It was under will he last the first segment.
Felt like I had somebody hanging on my neck.
Game 1, of course, goes to the Dallas Mavericks, and now, as we sit here, Circa still hanging at 5.5, but the rest of the market sits at 6 in favor of the Minnesota Timberwolves. The anticipation is there will be the bounce back for the Minnesota Timberwolves. 4.5-point favorite at open JVT, and now, as mentioned, 6 pretty much across the board. Compare that to where it closed in Game 1, which was 4.5. So we've talked about this all throughout the postseason.
Yep.
That tax that you pay in these desperate spots. A lot of the time when you're down 0-2, Game 3, we could talk about Indiana and Boston, where you look at a first-half line that is as low as Boston -2, despite being a 7-point favorite in that particular game with the uncertain status of Tyrese Halliburton. But you're looking at tonight, 6-point spread. Me and you both like the Minnesota Timberwolves. That feels a little too rich for my blood.
Yeah, like you said, man, it's something we've debated this entire time. Do you go with the spot, or do you look at this and say, well, no, we shouldn't. Numbers should be static. We shouldn't be moving this. The Timberwolves did not get better because they lost Game 1, but that is what this number would tell you, right? Is that the power rating improved because they lost Game 1, and that's just not something I personally can wrap my head around. Even as somebody who, believes in Minnesota, we talked about this a little bit before the show started. Went back and rewatched the game. There's a lot of things that they can do better. They can be better defensively. We'll have some of the numbers around that. Anthony Edwards, who took, I think, a grand total of 2 layup attempts in the game in Game 1 and missed both of them, and whose average shot was a distance of 22.5 feet. Can he be more aggressive and try to get downhill? Absolutely. There are things that they can improve on. They were great in transition in that game, Tim. Their offensive rating in transition off of live rebounds in Game 1, a 266.7. Very, very good. Pretty much scoring every time off of live rebound if they wanted to go out and run. Didn't run often, but they did it. So there's a lot of things that you can improve on as a team that would lead you to victory, but holy smokes. Can I really go out there and lay a bigger number for a team that just lost outright Game 1?
By the way, if you've been with us throughout the postseason, another market that we keeping an eye on is that first half tax, right? The expectation of you're gonna be motivated. And I'll be honest, I took a little 3.5 earlier today. It's not gonna be a best bet because the market keeps on moving. I think we're getting just a little bit out of my range. Game 1, T-Wolves were a 2.5-point first half favorite. Now they are a 4.5-point first half favorite. So we talk about tax and that you have to pay it. Is it sometimes worth it? Yeah. I'm a big situational handicapper. I love betting situations. We'll do it during college football nonstop, even in the NFL a little bit. But, that is a lot to pay with this Dallas-Minnesota point spread here. Real quickly, we're up and running, as always, the first hour for free on YouTube, youtube.com/VSiN Live. Come and hang with us in the comments section. John has let us know no tie, no top button. So
sounds about right.
Yeah. So
I am no Greg Peterson.
I don't know. I'm trying to think if I've ever worn a tie on television. I don't think. I wore a tuxedo on the opening night of Circa here on VSiN.
Oh, okay, yeah.
That was a first and only to this point, wearing a tuxedo on.
I'm surprised you don't make me show up in a tuxedo every day, given how you feel about sports coats.
Trying to derail the first segment.
You can't even, because you know I'm right. You can't even respond.
That's not true. I did a TV show prior to coming out to VSiN. I did not wear a sport coat.
Wow. You're brave.
What got me fired up was that it was a golf shirt. It looked like you just played the back nine at a recreational club in Connecticut and then went into studio there, but I digress. All right, we got that to get to. We have our best bets coming up bottom of the hour. On the ice tonight, we do have the New York Rangers against the Florida Panthers. The Florida Panthers, depending on where you look, a slight favorite or a pick'em in this spot. Do we get this New York Rangers in a desperation spot? We really haven't seen desperation from the New York Rangers because they got out to such a big lead in the Hurricane series last go around. So do we see a amped up New York Rangers squad right now? As you see at DraftKings, Florida a -112 favorite, and at Circa they are -109. In comparison, Wednesday night, the Florida Panthers closed at -116. So definitely not as much tax for the New York Rangers desperation spot versus the Minnesota Timberwolves desperation spot.
Man, I gotta say, I think I like the Rangers here in a bounce back. You look at game one and you watch it, and there are a couple of opportunities that the Rangers missed. We talked about your first period under, which got pretty lucky because there was a breakaway goal that the Rangers could not capitalize on that I think hit the pipe. If you look at some of the numbers, expected goals for, slight edge in favor of the New York Rangers. High danger chances tied up at 8 apiece. Shot share in Florida's favor, but not by a massive amount. I thought that was a game that definitely played tighter than what a 3-0 score would indicate. And obviously one of those goals was an empty netter for the Panthers. So I think the Rangers find themselves somewhat confident coming back into this. Can you hold down this power play again? We talked about that, right? That was going to be a big one. You were 0 for 2 on your power plays in that game. With this elite power play, I don't think that would be the case again. So if you get another opportunity, taking on shorthanded defense, I think you can capitalize on it. I feel like the Rangers would be in a good bounce back spot here today.
Yeah, we will. I will have a play in this game, and it is not a first period under. Coming up in the bottom of the hour for this series. I have the Panthers to win this series at -$1.50, so feeling good about that, but I tend to lean more your way. But we got to have a show sweat, so it will be a show sweat. We'll just point at that. That tip puck drop around 8 o'clock Eastern time at Madison Square Garden. You and I both, now in different ways, took the Dallas Stars. Your bet is still alive. Now you could get a better number. I took them to win last night, and I can't decide if I should be upset or not, because if you think back to last night, Dallas loses in double overtime to the Edmonton Oilers. They force overtime with a late goal, 2-2, and then they get a 4-minute power play early in overtime. They hit the pipe. The place went bonkers in Dallas, and then they hit the other pipe in that power play. However, Jake Ottinger made one of the most ridiculous saves I've seen in quite some time on Connor McDavid late in overtime. Then Connor McDavid ultimately got his due in the second overtime. So the Oilers get the win. Unfortunately, my best bet does not come home. Another first period under, and Banksy right on money. Last night on the show, Darren Banks in studio said he loves unders in all these series. Even Edmonton and Dallas, we had talked about, I think Edmonton had gone over in 12 of the last 15 first periods. It was a scoreless first period there between Edmonton and Dallas. So curious how this series and what the adjustment is. And here's the adjustment. Looking ahead to Saturday night, no longer 6 out there. It's 5.5 across the market, juice to the over. But Dallas falls short, and we'll see if they get the bounce back, as they are now minus 135 favorites. They closed around minus 125 for game 1.
Yeah, I got to tell you, I don't feel as I feel confident that the Rangers can bounce back in game 2. I didn't love watching game 1 for Dallas. I thought that Edmonton looked everything as been as advertised on offense. Metrics painted that picture too. Really big edge and high danger chances, 16-10 for Edmonton. You can make the argument you probably should have scored more. Their expected goals metric was just about like 3 1/4, whatever it was. I felt like it was kind of Dallas was going to steal one if they were going to be able to grab it in overtime, which wasn't the case. So a little shaky.
Yeah, when that double minor happened, I thought, all right, we got our chance here, and obviously it did not come home. But we saw why Jake Ottinger may be the best goalie remaining in this Stanley Cup playoffs. He was really good last night, but not good enough as Edmonton is able to win game 1. A game 2 tonight in New York City. We'll have much more on that as the show goes on. And a game 2 tonight in the Twin Cities. On the other side, we did this exercise regarding the Eastern Conference Finals MVP. Western Conference Finals MVP. Are there bets to be made?
This is VSiN Primetime with Tim Murray and Jonathan Von Tobel on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
We've got a limited time spring special for you. How about this? A VSiN Pro subscription, normally priced at $240 for 12 months. We're going to knock that down to less than $200, and we're going to give you an extra 2 months for free. That's 14 months for $199, all if you use the promo code PRIME. That's right, less than 50 cents a day. In fact, exactly 47 cents a day, and you have so much at your disposal if you use the promo code PRIME. You get articles in every single sport, like today, NFL statistics to help predict team improvement and decline from Steve Mackinnon. One of many up on the site today. You get the betting tools, my personal favorite, the NBA Prop Bet Analyzer. That's good for the NFL as well. And our First 5 Analyzer and many, many other things, as well as the betting splits and the betting picks. VSiN.com/subscribe. Promo code is PRIME. Less than $200 for 14 months. Check it out today.
We did the math. 47 cents. 47 cents per day. We did the math. Don't listen to anyone else. We did the math. Prime. Use that promo code.
Correct.
All right, a lot to get to tonight. I just said it again. I'm fired up, man. I just feel good. It's a great weekend, 3-day weekend for all of those. Of course, thanks to everyone who have served this country as we head into Memorial Day weekend. Wes Reynolds fired up for the Indianapolis 500, I'm sure, even though word on the street, rain could push that to Monday, so we could have a big old Monday there. But last night, before we get into the Western Conference Finals, last night we saw the Boston Celtics put their foot on the throat
I thought you were going to say something else.
of the Indiana Pacers and win 126-110. So JVT, after Game 1, gave us his MVP standings and if there was value to be had. Then we had Matt Moore from the Action Network on, and we all kind of came to the agreement that Jaylen Brown probably should be worth a bet. At the time, we were doing this on Wednesday at 4-1. Prior to the game, we revisited it, and it was 5-1 at DraftKings. And Jaylen Brown goes out, and he drops a 40-burger last night. So let's get some updated Eastern Conference Finals MVP standings, JVT, and if there is still a bet to be made out there on the board.
Yeah, these are mine, obviously, so keep that in mind as you'll see that they're not in order of where the odds are. But I don't think there's any question. Jaylen Brown is still number one for your Eastern Conference Finals MVP standings. We have the moment, and now we have the performance. As you mentioned, a dominant performance yesterday in this game against the Indiana Pacers. 40 points, 14-27 shooting, and 5 rebounds, 2 assists. These are his series. These are all series-long stats. So now for this series, averaging 33 points, 6 rebounds, 3.5 assists on 51% shooting from the floor. All All while, by the way, his compatriot, Jason Tatum, was a no-show in the first half, had 4 points, 2 rebounds, 2 assists, was a -9 in 19 minutes, was 2 of 8 from the floor. Brown's been absolutely incredible. And before, I'm going to tee this up myself. I know Tim's the host, but if we could, Ortega, I actually think moments like this from a post-game presser are really good for Jaylen Brown because a lot of people criticize this team for lack of leadership. I think Jaylen Brown is becoming this team's leader. And Jaylen Brown, after the game, was asked, "Hey, what do you think about being snubbed from these All-NBA teams?" This is what he had to say.
Was there any motivation for you after hearing that you didn't make an All-NBA team?
No, I wouldn't say that.
What would you say?
I mean, we 2 games from the finals, so honestly, I don't got the time to give.
He does not have time to give a bleep. This man is locked in. He has been their best player through the first 2 games. There is no question about it. You can miss me with the overtime performance from Jason Tatum. He was not good leading up to that. This man is the leader in the clubhouse. And frankly, I don't think -110 covers it. This team looks like it's on its way to sweeping the Indiana Pacers now that we have the injury to Tyrese Halliburton. This guy's number 1. So, with that being said, Drew Holiday checks in at number 2 for me. I think that's pretty safe. Holiday, again, had a really efficient performance. They're letting him shoot, and he's taking advantage of it.
Again, too, with points.
Yeah, right, and we talked about it, too. Go over the 1.5 3-pointers. He was 3 of 4. So 15 points for Drew Holiday. He was 6 of 7 from the floor, 3 of 4 from three-point range, added 10 assists and 3 rebounds. Holiday, for me, is number 2. Now, I think there's a gap between him, and clearly the odds would indicate that, but I think he's number 2. At number 3, Pascal Siakam deserves to be included in these standings.
Awesome last night.
Incredible before he got benched, which is absolutely insane, but incredible before he got benched by Rick Carlisle. 26 points, 8.5 rebounds, 4.5 assists per game in these 2 contests. Still, through 2 games, both on the road, by the way, shooting 62% from the floor. He's 70-1, but only because at this point right now, Pacers look like they have no shot with Tyrese Halliburton sidelined. You'll notice, too, by the way, when we first had these, we had 5 players. It was easy to eliminate Miles Turner. He wasn't good. Tyrese Halliburton's injured. I think he gets eliminated from contention as well, at least at this point, too. So Jason Tatum checks in at number 4. The only reason he's there is because he's Jason Tatum. I don't think he should be sniffing this award, and it leads me to this. We always talk about getting the best number possible and value and all these things. Tim, I honestly believe that at -110, there is value in Jaylen Brown to win this award. Again, they look like they're on the verge of sweeping this Pacers team out. If Tyrese Halliburton's hurt, then they're going to go to war without their best player or second best player, however you deem him and Pascal Siakam. This team is much better than Indiana. And if they're going to go on to sweep the Indiana Pacers, which is a very real possibility, and Jaylen Brown is a massive leader in the clubhouse in the first 2 games with the biggest moment, why is he not higher than -110 to win this award?
So I want to point something out because I agree with what you just said because I just looked it up. I wasn't sure what the price was. So we're using DraftKings numbers. DraftKings right now has exact outcome of this series, the sweep, at -135. I bring that up because if this is a sweep, I really don't see how Jaylen Brown does not win this award because the 2 biggest moments of this series, a big-time 3 from the corner that forced overtime. Yes, Jason Tatum was the MVP of overtime, but Jaylen Brown hit that shot. That is the moment of this series. It should be 1-1. It is not because Jaylen Brown hit that 3, and he also played really well in that game.
And he played well in overtime, too.
And the second big moment is he was absolutely dominant from the jump last night. And if this is a sweep, then I don't know how you could say Jason Tatum jumps back into it when Tyrese Halliburton is officially listed as questionable. I don't know about you. Listening to Tim Bontemps on his podcast, ESPN's Tim Bontemps earlier today, it certainly felt like he's not going to play in Game 3. He wasn't reporting that. Yep. But if you just kind of read the tea leaves, same hamstring, left, did not return. It doesn't seem optimistic for Tyrese Halliburton to be out there for Game 3. We will see. I'm hoping that he's out there just from a basketball fan standpoint. But, look, I'm happy that we talked it out. And maybe some people grabbed a 5-1 last night before the game started because you made a great point. Matt Moore made a point. I just said, all right, I'll jump in on Jaylen Brown. He was the best player. He's been the best player, and he should be the Finals MVP. The way he doesn't win this award, I think, is if it goes longer and Jason Tatum has a big game 6 after maybe they lost a couple of games. Sure. But I would agree with your point if you have not gotten involved yet, because now with the likelihood of Tyrese Halliburton either being very much hindered with this injury or not playing, I don't see the Celtics this series going further than 5 games.
Yeah, I mean, look, Halliburton was already banged up. He wasn't fully healthy.
No.
He had ratcheted up his 3-point attempts per game to almost 10 per game because he didn't want to attack. Like, he was not feeling comfortable on that hamstring. 60% of his shots in the playoffs are coming from beyond the arc. Tyrese Halliburton's a good shooter, and he shoots a lot. Over 40% in the regular season of his attempts came from 3. That was a guy that wasn't comfortable driving on his hamstring and didn't want to attack guys. So he already was not feeling it, and now all of a sudden he's not going to be available. But I don't – and I will say this for you and for my hope for you, Tim. If they go on to win these next 2 games, and Jaylen Brown just has average performances, so does Jason Tatum, if Jaylen Brown does not win Eastern Conference Finals MVP, it is an absolute travesty. It is, again, something where we just cannot trust these voters to look past big names, because Jason Tatum...
He's a big name.
He's a big... Well,
he was an All-NBA last year.
He should be.
Now, let me ask you this.
But let me make my angry point. Jason Tatum does not belong anywhere near this award right now. It is Jaylen Brown's. So if they go on to win the next 2 games and both of them have average performances, I swear, I don't know what I'll do. I'll just say angry statements on behalf of my co-host here.
2 straight years? Because it was you last year.
This is his award right now. And frankly, if they both have average performances in 2 closeout wins, it is Jaylen Brown's. End of story. So I hope you get it.
The 2 most important games of this series were games 1 and 2, if this goes 4 or 5. Tom on Twitter congratulated me on my 5-1. First off, Tom, I mentioned it last night. I didn't get the best of the number. It went to 5 prior to tip-off. Secondly, come on, man. What are we doing? Trying to mush me? Hey, let's cash this. We know how this works.
Got a good Sylvie.
Ask Mr. Von Tobel over here about Caleb Martin and his Eastern Conference Finals MVP candidacy. So hopefully justice comes our way with Jaylen Brown winning Eastern Conference Finals MVP.
By the way, Drew Holiday's odds went up.
Can we again? By the way, the Celtics again. No Jimmy Butler.
Don't do that game.
I mean, it's wild. Tyrese Halliburton might not play Game 3.
I had a good tweet yesterday.
Did you?
That deal with Satan really paying off for Joe Mazzulla.
We got our best bets on the other side.
This is VSiN Primetime with Tim Murray and Jonathan Von Tobel on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
VSiN.com. We have a lot of great content up there. You can check out the best bets in the leaderboard. You can get your hands on the betting splits with data courtesy from DraftKings. The exclusive articles are aplenty. Zach Cohen's got his expert MLB player props for the day. And Burke's got his best bets for the day. The top picks from Major League Baseball from Josh Applebaum when you analyze the betting splits. And a look at Churchill Downs and Aqueduct for Saturday, May 25th. All that and more. Check it out now at VSIN.com.
That's Jonathan Von Tobel. I am Tim Murray. It is VSiN Prime Time. Game 2 of the Eastern Conference Final set to start around 8 o'clock Eastern in New York City. Dan Rosen, NHL.com, will join us live from Madison Square Garden coming up in 45 minutes. And coming up in 15 minutes, Tom Bryn from NBA Radio will join us. SiriusXM NBA Radio will jump on the program, get his thoughts for the Western Conference Finals tonight. And is this series, in fact, over in the Eastern Conference Finals, as once again Tyrese Halliburton officially listed as questionable, so we will see if he will be able to give it a go tomorrow night. Did you, before we get to our best bets, and you alluded to Pascal Siakam getting yanked early, very odd at the end of that game, and then I thought the explanation from Carlisle even odder, where he said, wanted to give these guys some minutes, see how they looked. In Game 2 of the Eastern Conference Finals, Doug McDermott, really? Do we need to see Doug McDermott out there?
I mean, I don't know. I really did not agree with that. Like you said, it's the Eastern Conference Finals. This isn't, hey, it's January 7th.
Right.
And on a Tuesday, the second leg of a back-to-back. And what drives you more nuts is the fact that, Tim, 20-point leads are nothing in today's NBA. This is not the same thing. It's why I always push back on when people say, like, the other day there was a final in the NBA. There was like 13 points, and somebody called it a blowout. I was like, that's like a 2-possession game, bro. That thing could get eliminated in 5 seconds in an NBA game. So to punt that quickly, I don't know. That's especially when you're talking about going down 2-0. And this goes back to game 1. And what did I say? Those wins, it's not showing up in the next game. But it's in the course of a series, if you blow games like that, where you need these wins, and you don't grab that first one, that's going to make all the difference in the world. And even with Tyrese Halliburton injured, you're in a much better spot going back to Indiana 1-1 with an injured Tyrese Halliburton than you are down 2-0. Shouldn't have screwed up that game, and I was amazed that they pulled the plug that quickly yesterday.
Yeah, it was rather stunning, and we said it yesterday. We talked about it. Was this series wrapped up because of that devastating loss? And, the Pacers kind of hung around. They led after the first quarter. They took a couple punches, and then that was odd. But, this late in the season, you really do need to see Doug McDermott out there for 12 minutes. I mean, we all need to see the former Creighton Blue Jay when we get a.
I have no idea what his game's like.
Yeah, that's true. Maybe it'll help spark this Indiana Pacers team. All right, with that being said, you know what we do in this segment each and every day. Let's get to it. Our best bets.
I see you using an old style.
I'm giving you the keys to the kingdom.
Putting our money where our mouth is.
I like to live dangerously.
It's time for best bets.
Come on, Jerry, it's a lock.
All right, I'm laughing because
Don't ruin the fun.
Are we saving this?
Yeah, we're going to save this for our Western Conference Finals MVP discussion.
Oh yeah, we'll do that at the top of the hour because there is a stat.
There's multiple stats.
There are multiple stats, but let's
just put it this way.
Ooh, buddy.
It's over.
Yeah.
It's over.
The discussion.
Don't ruin it.
All right. I'll leave it that. All right. I don't want to ruin what you're going to bet. Cincinnati Reds hosting the Dodgers. We did have someone on the chat, Wags, chimed in on YouTube and said, is Ohtani sitting tonight? He is not, but we're seeing the market move against the Los Angeles Dodgers. Why is that, JVT?
Yeah, my thinking would maybe be because it's James Paxton. I think that's what sticks out here. Paxton, his metrics have been awful. If you're talking about a first 5 write-up on Tuesdays and Thursdays, this would probably be up there. Paxton's pitching profile looks horrendous. Expected ERA of 5.55. His fielding independent sitting at about a 5.14 despite a 2.84 ERA. And you look at some of the numbers, Tim, and you realize, that's why he's getting next to nothing in terms of swings and misses. 25th percentile in chase rate, 10th percentile in whiff rate, 5th percentile in strikeout rate. He's only struck out 13% of the hitters he's faced up to this point, and he's walking an identical 13% of opposing hitters. And the worst part is below average. He's given up a ton of hard contact. So for me, look, this is not some rush to back Graham Ashcraft, who is not really the best, but at the very least we know what we're getting for Ashcraft. It's more of a thought that I think there's a higher chance that this Reds lineup can get to James Paxton and find themselves with the lead by the time you get to end of 5 frames. I don't trust Paxton at all. His numbers would indicate that. And if I can get a dude who's getting nothing next to swings and misses and still giving up a ton of hard contact, I think that I'll trust that the Reds can take advantage here. So let's take a shot. It's an underdog for a reason. Plus 120, Reds first 5 money line against James Paxton and the Dodgers.
And I'll just say, hey, Reds, if you want to go out and win this game outright, I'm cool with that because that would very much help where we sit right now. The Dodgers are not the biggest threat. The Yankees technically the biggest threat to our Philadelphia Phillies here for the best record in the month of May. Phillies 17-3, and our Phillies are minus $2 road favorites tonight at Colorado. They've been awesome. Just swept the Rangers. Keep it up, Phils. Let's bring it on home. All right. My best bets. I don't usually venture into the prop market all that much, but it's time to bring your ass, Anthony Edwards. Where you been? He has gone under in his player prop in his last 4 games and 6 of his last 7. The face of the NBA, according to some. And I love Anthony Edwards. But he has underperformed as of late, and he did not play well in Game 1. And let's be honest, from an offensive standpoint in Game 7, it wasn't him. that won that game. So it's been interesting to note Anthony Edwards here. When you look at his player prop, it has actually gone down a little bit. This is the lowest that it has been since the first round of the playoffs when he was on fire, and he went over it in the last 2 games against the Phoenix Suns. Remember, he had that stretch, games 3 and 4 against Phoenix, 36 and 40. Game 1 against Denver, he had 43. And then, since then, it's been 27-19. Had that 44-point performance in the loss to Denver in Game 4. Then it's been 18, 27, 16, and 19. JVT talked about it. The amount of threes that he took. The only 2 attempts at the rim for Anthony Edwards. I know this Dallas defense likes to pack it in. It's awkward. You got to get more from your best player, offensively at least, because there's someone on the defensive side that's pretty good too, but some people think he's a bum. But Anthony Edwards, over 27.5 points tonight. I think we get it from Anthony Edwards. I do think the T-Wolves win. I'm not going to lay the 6. I've got a series price out there, so hopefully I'm looking for them to bounce back. I feel good about the first leg of that parlay, but not so well on the second leg of the T-Wolves series parlay there. So Anthony Edwards, over 27.5 points. I'm going with a player prop tonight. I like the first half, but once again, I think it's priced out right now. And then the other one, our in-show sweat. I'm going to go Rangers first period money line.
Oh, boy.
Yeah. So I have been loving first period unders. I like it a little bit here in this spot, but I'm going to go with the desperate team and the New York Rangers. They have not been a team that gets out and peppers the goalie all that much, but I think we see a desperation spot here from the New York Rangers against the Florida Panthers. I've got a Panthers series price, so hopefully we can thread the needle. Rangers be up after one period and maybe lose this game, but if it is tied after the first period, obviously it's a push, but I will take the Rangers, being a little creative, a little in-show sweat, first period money line. The other bets that we have in pocket, Celtics minus 1.5 games paired with the T-Wolves. Hopefully we can get a win tonight. Panthers minus 150 series price. That feels good after they win game 1. And then Jaylen Brown, baby. Didn't get the 5-1. Thought this number would go down. It actually went up initially before game 2, but we're all right. 4-1. You're not to win Eastern Conference Final MVP.
You're not going to add Bronny James 201 to be first overall pick?
No, I am not. Do you want to talk about this?
What's that?
It's making the rounds. Yes, people make dumb bets. It happens. It happens all the time. Like I think our audience, for the most part, is smart and recognizing. Like,
for the most part, some of you listening, he thinks you're stupid.
Like the 1%.
I think all of you are smart.
None of the YouTube watchers. They're all geniuses. But as they're showing it on ESPN right now, and PTI had it on, it's like people betting Colorado to win the national championship last year. It was a dumb bet then. Bronny James to go number 1 overall is a dumb bet now. But hey, if you get a 200-1 ticket, congratulations.
Yeah, I mean, look, a vast majority of it's like $5-ish bucks, maybe, if that, the average bet size. So it's going to happen. It's fun. You take long shots. The real one is Donovan Clingan, though.
That's your guy.
We're all Donovan Clingan fans in the Von Tobel household now. Showing the kids highlights.
Were you?
Yep. Let's go. This is the guy we're cheering for.
Dad, can you put back up Paw Patrol?
Nope.
What the hell is this?
We don't watch. We're a Team Umizoomi family, okay? And a Donovan Clingan family. That's all we watch.
Theo chiming in on the YouTube chat. He said he loves Houston run line and Baltimore run line tonight. Tim on Twitter says, I really like the under tonight in T-Wolves.
Yep.
And who are the T-Wolves playing? The Mavericks?
Yeah.
Good. Man, weekend. Let's get here. All right. Tom Byrne going to join us on the other side to talk a little Western Conference Finals. It is VSiN Primetime.
This is VSiN Primetime with Tim Murray and Jonathan Von Tobel on VSiN, the sports betting network.
We're about to crown an NBA champion in the next few weeks. Action's heating up on the court. It's even hotter at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NBA. New to DraftKings, listen up. New customers can get a no-sweat bet up to $1,500. Just deposit at least $5 and you'll get a bonus bet back equal to your first bet if it doesn't hit. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use code VSiN. The crown is yours.
Alongside Jonathan Von Tobel, I'm Tim Murray. We're live here in Las Vegas, getting you set for Game 2 of the Western Conference Finals tonight. The Minnesota Timberwolves hosting the Dallas Mavericks. And right now, pretty much across the board, JVT, as we sit here, the number sits at 6. 5.5 still hanging at circa, but 6 is across the board. Total of 207.5. And before we bring in our guest, Tim on Twitter, Tom's going to be our guest. He said, after the first round, Game 2 home teams, 37-12 straight up, 28-20-1 ATS. So Tim in the YouTube chat said he's rolling with the T-Wolves and the under. So that is the way he is rolling tonight. Let's head to our progressive guest line. Tom Byrne joins us right now on VSiN PrimeTime. You can hear him weeknights on SiriusXM Mad Dog Radio. I just gave out my best bet for tonight. I'm not a big prop guy, Tom, but I think we get a performance from Anthony Edwards because when you look at the numbers since he went nuclear in the latter half of the Phoenix series and then in Game 1 and 4 against Denver, let's be honest, he's kind of been pedestrian, at least from that offensive standpoint. He's had his moments. So after settling for a lot of threes, do you anticipate a big performance from Ant tonight?
I could see that. Let's also be frank about Game 7. I know because they won the game. Well, he did all the little things. He got this done here, did that there. Bottom line is he shot 6 of 24.
Yeah.
If they would have lost the game, we would have been destroying them. Didn't live up to the billing in Game 1. We all knew it was absolute nonsense to be comparing Anthony Edwards to Michael Jordan. I mean, it's so ridiculous. That said, he's due for a big game tonight. I think he's going to attack more. I'd be surprised if Minnesota relies on the 3-ball as often. And that's the interesting thing about this game, guys. Dallas, listen, I was shocked. The market got up to 6.5. What? I had to get involved at that point. I was thinking about it at 5.5. Then it's 6. All right, interesting. Looks like it doesn't go up 6.5. I mean, bottom line is Dallas was 6 of 25 from 3. I mean, they're due for positive regression, not negative. And Minnesota's not going to live by the 3-ball the way they did in Game 1. I'd be a little concerned from a Timberwolves standpoint. But just looking at Anthony Edwards, I think his aggressive nature makes you confident that you might be in for a bigger game tonight.
Tom, what do you make of the total for today? We got this pretty high 208.5. We're down to 207.5. Tail of two halves, too, from an efficiency standpoint. Both teams in the first half last time around, offensive ratings of over 128. Second half was much closer, I think, than what we expected. What do you make of the total and the pace today?
I played over the total Game 1. I'm not going to come back, even though it's the same number in Game 2. I thought about it, especially when the market came back down, which wasn't a huge shock. Listen, I do think it's going to go over, but Dallas is a tough team. You know, regular season, you look at the net ratings, they were so much higher on both sides. Playoffs, they've come down. Minnesota's kind of similar. When you adjust to playoff pace, which is, of course, low 90s as opposed to high 90s, that makes a big difference. I mean, I come away with a higher number. But I just feel like tonight, again, I think Dallas is going to knock down more threes. And Luka is the only one who's knocking down threes. Minnesota is going to be more aggressive, I think, trying to get to the rim. I'm leaning that way, but I'm probably going to stay off the number, to be honest.
All right, let's go back to the player prop angle. But I think there's something interesting that's kind of happened here with Dallas. Derek Lively is their best option at center. Now, he's not starting, but he had 27 minutes compared to Daniel Gafford's 21 in Game 1, Tom. Are we starting to look at some Derek Lively overs? At some point, even from a minute standpoint, maybe not from a starting standpoint, but in terms of minutes, he's going to get starter minutes and outshine Daniel Gafford. It's already starting.
Yeah, I think Derek Lively has to stay on the floor. Now, look, sometimes we overrate the plus-minus minutes, just the raw numbers. But the bottom line is, I mean, it should be pretty evident right now. They're a more effective basketball team with Lively on the floor. So we'll see if they end up going that direction. You know, sometimes you make assumptions. You know, look, last series, Indiana, New York, we all thought, oh, well, TJ McConnell's going to be the main guy on Brunson the rest of the way. Well, not really. He got a little bit of a, chunk of it, but not as much as we thought. So you never know with these coaches. But that would make a lot of sense. I'm expecting to see more Lively.
Tom Byrne joining us here on VSiN PrimeTime. Follow him on Twitter at @1Tom BYRNE and catch him on Mad Dog, SiriusXM's Mad Dog Radio weeknight starting at 7 o'clock Eastern Time. Tom, when you think about the MVP market here for this particular series, I thought the Eastern Conference Finals, you can make a case for a bunch of people. Now we see that Jaylen Brown is, in fact, the favorite after 2 games. It felt like if the Mavs are going to win, it's going to be Luka. If the T-Wolves are going to win, it's going to be Anthony Edwards. How would you look at that market, and is there any other way, in your opinion, after Kyrie's really impressive performance in Game 1, that you look outside of those two guys in that market?
Yeah, probably not, because you are trying to handicap what other human beings are going to do at the same time, and I think they're always going to be going to the stars. I mean, I almost thought myself I should just shut it all down after Andre Iguodala Finals MVP. I mean, I can't figure these human beings out. I mean, that's the most egregious thing in the history of sports, that they actually gave that man an award. So you can't trust these guys who vote at all. So I don't play these numbers very often, and the other thing is you're usually not getting great value on the superstars, but because you're dealing with human beings, I mean, collectively as a unit, there might be one or two that's smart enough to say, hey, listen, Derek White did this, Derek White did that, if he has a big game, I'm saying, obviously. But for the most part, people are going to be drawn to the star power.
Having said that, Jaylen Brown should be minus like 600 to win this award of the Eastern Conference, correct?
You would think, yes, 100%. I mean, he hit the game winner, then he goes for 40. I mean, geez. What else would he have to do? So, listen, I mean, maybe it's possible he throws up a couple 1-for-16s, and, then it's all about what have you done for me lately. But at this point, Jaylen Brown is gonna walk away with this thing.
See, there you go, Timmy, feeling good.
I feel good, but as you learned last year, you could hear it from...
We don't have to keep bringing up Caleb Martin. We don't have to keep bringing up Caleb Martin. You should have won Eastern Conference Finals MVP. We all know it. Tom, real quick, with Boston, I know that Tyrese Haliburton's status is a big one, but what do you make of them 6.5, 7-point favorites for Game 3?
Yeah, I can't do anything with this until I know what Haliburton's doing. I mean, if you could get 6.5, 7 with Haliburton playing, sure. I mean, then I'd be more comfortable firing away. But if he doesn't play, I mean, they could get destroyed in this series. I have a minus 2.5 games ticket from prior to the series, so I'll probably be staying off the game. The total feels a little high, but then, what are you going to really have any confidence in the under with these two teams? Indiana, which loves to push the pace, can't get a stop if it's life dependent on it in Boston. You can't do that. And so there's a good chance. I'll wait and see what information I get and see what the market does with the number. But for now, it looks like a sit out for me.
Tom, just circling back to tonight and also looking ahead a little bit to Saturday night as well. We've talked about it so much on this show, where you look at these first half prices for the quote desperate team, right, and the tax that you have to pay. So right now you're looking at 4.5, Minnesota minus 4.5 when they're a 6-point favorite in this particular game. And then you look to Saturday night and Boston's only a 2.5-point first half favorite when they're a 7-point full game favorite, and we still don't know that the status of Tyrese Haliburton. So have you looked at these first halves, and have you kind of gone against conventional thinking where it is desperate team, I'll pay the tax?
Yeah, for a while there, that was the cash cow,
sure.
Right? If you were paying attention to the NBA market, you loved the desperation. Game 3, team down 2-0, take them first half. But as per usual, the market has caught up to that. If anything, there might be a little value on the other side at this point, guys. That's something worth exploring. I, for the most part, have been sitting back and just kind of, I've been using a little bit more first quarter with mixed results, believe it or not. First time I'd done that, I don't know, it's so much variance there. Like last night, for example, my dumb ass, I played Boston, minus 2.5 in the first quarter. And, of course, that 20-0 run bridged with 30 seconds left in the first quarter to the early portion of the second quarter. That's a loser for me. First half hits, game hits, not me. So you got to be careful with these sort of things. But to answer your question, if anything, I think the value might be coming back on the other side now.
All right, last minute here with you, Tom. Do you bench Gobert outright because it's all his fault, or do you just cut him from the team? What do you do with him?
Yeah, Rudy Gobert should just walk right to the Hall of Fame, one of the greatest defensive players in the history of the sport. I love him. That was a great trade. It's going to be proven when they win a championship. Now, listen, I don't think Rudy Gobert is nearly as bad as some people want to make it seem. I think he's a very good upside defender. 1-on-1, he can get bullied a little bit. We've seen that, whether it's Jokic, Embiid, whoever it might be. But those two guys, they're going to do more damage than others. Like, they're two historical centers. Embiid when he's healthy anyway, which is never the case. And obviously Jokic, you might end up a top 10 player in the history of the sport. I mean, I'm not going to go too nuts if he gets beat up by them. It was an awful look when he pointed to Kyle Anderson and said, listen, this guy, you got to give him, you got to give him your best because I'm done. Like, come on, you can't be doing that. You're a 4-5 defense. That's ridiculous. Come on. I have a tough time with that. 4-time defensive player of the year. Show some guts, but I guess that's who he is. He's a good player overall. Look, I'm looking at Kyle Anderson as a guy who's a problem with them. I mean, everybody wants to concentrate on Gobert. Why is Slow-Mo getting all these minutes? I mean, his defenders able to roam and do whatever they want.
Well, Draymond said he should be starting. over Rudy Gobert, right? Right, JVT?
Yeah.
That's the way. Hey, Tom.
Fortunately for us, CNT's not going to have a show anymore, so we won't have to worry about that.
There he is, Tom Byrne, who, by the way, great Twitter header, I must say. We'll talk to Tom, I'm sure, down the road. Speaking of Rudy Gobert, we talk about Western Conference Final MVPs next.
We're this close to crowning an NBA champ, and with the action heating up on the court, it's even hotter at DraftKings Sportsbook.